Hello, I'm Ryan Cook, and this is Civic Tech Chat, a podcast about the civic technology movement. We seek to harness the power technology has to improve the delivery of public services to people everywhere. Before we get into the episode, I do want to give you that friendly reminder that if you've liked this content so far, you should hop on over to your podcast app to give us a 5-star review. Doing so helps us reach a broader audience and helps motivate folks like me to make more of these episodes. So really a win-win. All that said, let's go ahead and hop right in. Stephen, thank you so much for joining us on this episode of Civic Tech Chat. Could you take a moment to tell us a bit about who you are and what you do?
Sure. Thanks, Ryan. My name is Dr. Stephen Kleinschmidt. I am the director of the new Master of Science in Civic Analytics program at the University of Illinois at Chicago. It's a new data science program in the public sector. I've been slated to lead that. I had a lead role in helping to develop it, and I guess we'll kind of iron out a lot of this in this kind of coming conversation.
One of the things we ask about often on these episodes is about this idea of personal why. So, Stephen, for you, what is it that drives you to get out of bed each morning and do what you do?
I could say that I've always been a bit of a builder, that my interest in the public sector and data science and just broadly has been when I see a need, I see something that I think should be done that, often other people will stand around and say, oh, it would be nice if somebody did that. It would be great if this were to happen. I've always kind of been in that role of, well, if not me, then who? And if not now, then when? So I guess that's one thing that's kind of typified not only the creation of this degree, but some of the other things I've done. I created this conference known as the Midwest Public Affairs Conference. I created an open, had a important role in founding this an open source open access academic journal in public affairs called the Journal of Public and Nonprofit Affairs. I've got other things that I've kind of got in the chute that, just this idea of when you see a need and you see an opportunity to lead and to build things that may have value for the public sector and for your field. I think that's kind of my mode of operation, and that's what drives me, is being a builder.
As you've gone along the way, have you come across any pieces of media, be they print, video, a podcast, or some other thing that you found to be especially inspiring or informative?
I guess coming into the sort of Chicago civic technology space, I'd say probably one of the first and ultimately informative type of institutions that I ran across was Shy Hack Night. Just super interested in, when I arrived here, that, I'd kind of interacted with some smaller dispersed groups and initiatives that met online and stuff like that. But I was really kind of blown away with the degree of their capacity and organization and the innovation that was shown kind of in that in those spaces. I guess as kind of traditional media, well, I don't know if you call them traditional media, but I've always been a fan of ELGL GovLove. Engaging Local Government Leaders has their own podcast series that GovLove that helps inform people about what's being done in local government. I guess that's coming from my experience as being a former urban planner and local government practitioner. And also, for those of you who are kind of interested in sort of the academic realm of public affairs and public administration, there's a podcast series known as Academics of PA that has gotten some pretty good talent, some high-level people, thought leaders and researchers in the field of public administration and public affairs to go on and sort of talk about their motivations and their careers and stuff like that. And I thought that's been a pretty interesting thing as well. So yeah, just those are kind of my choices is the things that have kind of inspired me both in the past and these days.
I definitely appreciate you sharing those resources with us. And as always, I'll go out and gather some links for the things that were mentioned here, and they'll be in the episode description. To give the listener a little bit of context about the conversation we're about to have, could you tell us a little bit about the path you've taken thus far and how it's led you to where you are today?
getting on the path of this of information sciences. I was always interested in technology and kind of playing with tools and stuff like that. Computer-based things even back in high school. But I originally went to college. I started off as a computer science major. I moved to geography and GIS. Later, I'd become an urban planner, and I think in part it was that experience that informed me to get into academia. It's just seeing this kind of combination of technology, public sector applications and data, and seeing how it was used. Before I came to UIC, I was a professor at Western Michigan University in Kalamazoo, Michigan. I taught in the public School of Public Administration Affairs there. So I guess it's been kind of this path that has always kind of intersected with an interest in serving the public, kind of an interest in education, but also technology. And I think that's kind of in getting here to UIC and seeing my roles change. That I got here kind of to was hired to be the director of the Master of Public Administration program, and then saw this strategic opportunity to create a public sector data science degree program, and our department, school, and ultimately the Illinois Board of Higher Education bought into this vision, and now I'm the director of this now. So I think in some terms that I think not only for me but for probably people who are listening to this is that you probably felt something in your past that I love technology, I love data, I love that environment, but I also love to do good things in the public interest, and that's I think the kind of long game that ended up being ending with the creation of this program that's launching and stuff like that. And I think that kind of mindset probably appeals to quite a few of your listeners being here in the civic technology community.
I do believe that's probably the case, and I think that's a really good way to segue us into our main topic here, which is that civic analytics program that you were referring to there in your answer.
Sure.
To get us started about that, could you give us the like high level description or elevator pitch kind of thing for what this program is all about?
Yeah, I guess in the very short, the big data for the public sector, data science for the public sector, that a new type of public servant that is anchored in the traditions of applied statistics, data science, and but also trained within the particular constraints, culture, and democratic realities behind public institutions. So in a contrast to the private sector, focused on economic maximization and business development and other things like that. Our mission is very much to take these technologies and apply it to the public interest and be able to create a more accountable and efficient government.
I imagine your work in putting a program like this together was something that took quite a bit of time investment, energy investment, and intention on your part, as well as the parts of others. Could you tell us a little bit about the why for your want to put together a program like this?
Sure. I guess in part, we'd already kind of anchored the idea of having a program like this. We had a existing Master of Public Administration degree that had a concentration in information technology and performance measurement that already had some of these courses, that already had some of these, or at least had smaller versions of this coursework and course sequence. And I think it was in part because of some of the faculty in our college, the interest of students, kind of looking at the trends in the field and some of the movement of early actors in public data science, and just really getting this idea, with such an engaged civic technology community and such a significant number of organizations and innovators in this space here in Chicago, we really felt that we had a strategic opportunity to do something that had not really been fully explored in the field, and something that had not been kind of done before. So I think in part the strategic opportunities that we have this great city, we have this the benefit of an active civic technology community, we have all these institutions, private, public, nonprofit sector institutions that are engaged in this space. So we really felt that it would be it would be great to be able to offer a unique educational experience that nobody else has done, and kind of position ourselves as leaders in sort of the this intersection of civic technology and data analytics.
You mentioned there were some trends in public data science that helped nudge you along to come to the conclusion that this was a need. Could you talk a little bit more about those?
Sure. I've been kind of doing some research on this for a white paper for one of our accrediting bodies. So I've kind of been, I was lucky just to had this kind of in my head as of late. So, as you know, we've been growing as an information society for quite a while now, and when it comes to academic programs in data science, ever since 2007, when the first master's programs in data analytics was begun, we've seen this sort of explosion of degree programs and employment opportunities in data science, kind of agnostic of sector, or in the private sector and whatnot. Starting in around 2014, you saw the rise of early entrants, early kind of programs that wanted to establish this, that they were seeing significant opportunity, need for people who are specifically trained in principles of data science, in part to be able to better utilize government data to deal with some of the same technologies and regulatory considerations that were being driven by the private sector and stuff like that. So I think it was in part just the need for the public sector to catch up, where society was kind of, particularly the private sector was running full speed, that the public sector was kind of just lagging a little bit behind in kind of a responsive mode. But yeah, I guess it's this, we definitely see the need for these types of people and organizations and employers. You see the rise of, new agencies, like city information offices, new positions for people who optimize transit routes, people who are working in the nonprofits that depend on government derived and open data and even generate data themselves and stuff like that. So we fundamentally see this rise of increasing quantification, increasing digital services, the adoption of Internet of Things and sensor networks, and automatically reported and real-time data streams and other things like that. And these methods are just simply not the type of things that you would typically get within a traditional public affairs frame of coursework and stuff like that. So we saw the need to create something new and to help tap into this as well.
I, like perhaps many other listeners of the program, haven't themselves been involved in the creation of an academic program, much less one that's like in this specific area. Could you talk to us a little bit about like what the process is like to put something like this together?
Oh, sure. So particularly at a state institution, there's quite a few boards and committees and subcommittees and other things that you have to do. So anytime you start a new degree program, you're going to have to justify it based on these principles that are laid out by the offices or the administration, that there has to be a need, that it has to align with the university's mission and that of the Illinois Board of Higher Education, that you've got to estimate enrollments, and we want to make sure that we're not just duplicating the same thing that have been done before, or even within the institution, creating different versions of the same program that kind of just skeletonize each other. So even at the beginning, it's like you have to do your background research to say, here is something that is fundamentally different, and here's the reason why we think this is something worthy of dedicating an entire educational track to. There's having to go to other academic units across the university system and talk to them about how we can incorporate some of your coursework for students who want to take electives or looking for other things like that, and to assure them that we're not in there to coming in there to sort of to take their space and stuff like that, or occupy their space, if you will. Then you have to go to a departmental committee meeting and convince your colleagues in your media department yeah, this is something we could do. We have the faculty resources. We have either have the faculty, or we can hire the people we need to train the to run this thing. We have the resources to make it work and all that stuff like that. Then it goes up to the college, where all the departments within the college look at those. Then it ends up moving up to the faculty senate, and then up to the board of trustees, and has to be approved by not only the graduate faculty of the university, but the provost and the chancellor, and then and the board of trustees, and then finally it goes up to the Illinois Board of Higher Education, which reviews these programs to before issuing a final type thing. So it's a long, drawn out process, and I know that many people who might know me from the civic technology space, I started coming to meetups and Shy Hack Nights, almost 2 years ago, and I said, "Here's something that we're working on. It's coming down the pipe," and I don't think anybody got impatient about it, but it always just seemed like this thing that was far off. But there's always a tremendous degree of care and process to these type things. But we finally got it approved in August of 2019, and now I'm able to talk about it, and here we are.
So as you went through all of that, were there any lessons learned you picked up along the way that you'd be willing to share with us?
Irrespective if you're starting a degree or if you're starting a new organization in the tech space or something like that, I think it's really incumbent upon you to bring people aboard. We were able to get different members of the civic technology community and institutions who reviewed our proposal and everything like that. I think it's really important that, if you're going to launch something, is that you get buy-in from the community itself, that you do what you can to support them, and don't come in and just stake your flag and say, "This is us now." That we're really here to be part of this community, to contribute to it, both in terms of service and maybe a financial component as well. But yeah, I think the biggest thing is bring people aboard, let them know what's coming down the pipe, and you'd be surprised how far that goes into helping you get things done.
Taking a step back and looking at the program, maybe from the perspective of someone who's looking at this and kind of trying to figure out what it is and what it would mean for them if they were interested in it. Could we talk about the differentiation of a program like this versus something like a public administration program or a public policy program?
Traditionally, our graduate programs had been anchored by the MPA. The MPA, the Master of Public Administration, is a degree that is primarily seated in for people who want to lead government, public organizations, be they government and nonprofits. That they're looking for managerial roles, they're looking for leadership roles, they're looking for kind of positions that have them administering people. The type of coursework is things like finance and budgeting, organizational culture and management, ethics, strategic planning, program evaluation, these type of things that deal with that laws and policies have to be implemented, they have to be staffed, people have to get paid, there are procedures, labor relations, all that other stuff like that. So an MPA is very much anchored in that idea of running a public organization. The Master of Public Policy is a bit different. It's more in terms of crafting solutions to legislative intent. It's a bit more quantitative. Generally, it's anchored in more advanced kind of statistical analysis, a greater emphasis on program evaluation, economics. It's a much more technical kind of analyst style position that is for people who really want to dig into the nuances of policy and be able to turn those into programs and rules and administrative kind of things that are implemented by those in public administration. So that's kind of like the big picture of what the MPA and MPP are. Now switching over to civic analytics is that this is a much kind of different thing, and fundamentally and it's different is that we see a lot more of these people that they're advanced analysts, that the degree of statistical research method kind of training is much more intense. knowledge of data science principles, be they sort of database, programming languages, web scraping, the infrastructure of data, privacy, ensuring security. Yeah, there's a lot of principles that deal with things that are specific. I think you would find there's quite a bit of overlap, say, with in some of the core principles of data science field and data science programs that are field in specific. But particularly in terms of civic analytics, is that it's one of the defining features. I feel in the defining features that differentiates this degree from general principles of data science, just as the MPA is fundamentally different from the MBA or the Master of Business Administration, is that the mission of public agencies is so much different. Is to ensure the public interest, to protect the environment, to ensure social equity, provide equitable transportation, to ensure democracy, to protect citizen privacy and stuff like that. So in sort of the big scheme of things, is that the commitment to the public interest and the public mission is the thing that really defines even civic analytics from other data science programs. And I think that's one of the things that we really want to impart upon people who are listening to this at home, is that you're going to get the data science fundamentals, you're going to get those understandings of those principles that you get, but it's like that you're also going to get a lot of that information. You're going to get a lot of training in government institutions, the nonprofit sector, its culture, civic accountability, just a lot of these different elements of the public sector that fundamentally change the nature of the discussions and coursework and the methodologies that you're going to use to solve these problems.
Looking at the sort of skills that you've talked about there that come out of that civic analytics program, what sort of career endeavors do you think are best served by those gains through the program?
Oh yeah, so yeah, it's quite a bit that we foresee that the type of people with these skills are going to be desirable. In all sorts of types of government, local, state, federal, large nonprofit, even medium-sized nonprofits, government consultancies, and services units and things like that. People are going to have titles like analyst, information officers. Senior ones are going to be chief information officers or chief data officers, data specialists, spatial analysts. We see kind of a rise of data-informed journalism. I think ProPublica Illinois has really shown kind of the potential here in kind of the Chicago area that, here's types of journalism that are informed directly by relying on open data and FOIA and other things like that, and rather than just kind of looking for government documents, but being able to use government open data as a way to do investigative journalism is something that's of real interest. Nonprofit groups, nonprofit advocacy organizations, federal government. You have people who are work in diplomacy, some perhaps in the national security community and stuff like that. So we see anywhere there's data, in places where data can be optimized, it can be improved, that it can be integrated across siloed kind of information silos and units and stuff like that. We think that there's going to be a need for these for people in these kind of positions, and think that looking at some of the estimates that various units have put out there, that there's already a shortage in some of these in these areas, and there's definitely a need for people who can specialize on the type of methodological rigor that's needed to really derive useful information from the data that government collects.
As I was looking around through the material about this program, one thing that stuck out to me is that y'all include a course about data science ethics along with the others. Could you tell us a little bit about the aims of that sort of course and the intention behind its placement?
Yeah, so the idea of data science ethics is that there's all sorts of if you study kind of theory about the use of data. That data doesn't always work the way it's intended. It can be misused, it can be misapplied, it can be selectively disclosed, it can be leaked. Databases can be breached because of inadequate security and other things like that. And I think that if you're like me, from time to time you probably get an email from a different either credit monitoring agency or some sort of service that says that your information might have possibly been disclosed in a breach. It doesn't matter. It's if your Facebook account or a dating website or something like that. And as much as that, as bad as that is, a lot of the times the remedy is just to ensure that change your password and all that other stuff like that. But in the public sector, data, we have a lot of data that has substantial role in our identities as people, be it social security numbers, health data, military service records. All these type of things lead to being enrolled or qualification for they're key to who we are, and they're key to our being able to navigate kind of the reality that we live in and stuff like that. So having security and thinking those sort of aspects is important. But the ethics of how data is used, there's kind of this line in research that has to deal with instrumental rationality and this idea of quantification bias, that when you create tools that if you digitize everything and you reduce the complexity of the individual down to just another number or another line in a spreadsheet or other things like that, that it tends to become easier for you to make difficult decisions, or when you automate decision making, or you're kind of reducing the dimensionality of people from human beings into just a 1 or a 0 on a spreadsheet. And particularly when you're dealing with democracy and democratic institutions and public accountability, and real lives and stuff like that, is that we can't fall into that trap, that cognitive trap of just being, well, this is what the algorithm proposed. That you can create or widen social or economic inequality. You can completely miss entire communities because of surveyed non-response and missing data. So our partners and myself, when creating this degree, said that we absolutely have to anchor this degree in the idea of ethical public service, of understanding the possibilities and the challenges of using some of these tools. And we want to, from the outset, get it in the people's minds that that this isn't all just this isn't, we're not trying to get we're not selling advertising, we're not trying to optimize sales records or other things like that. We're dealing with people's lives here, and we need to have a bit more understanding of the ethical dilemmas that posit themselves when you're using this type of data, in ways that you wouldn't find in the private sector.
It sounds like it very much feeds back into some of those skills you were talking about that were really focused on, I guess, like the public interest part of a program like this. Am I hearing that correctly?
Oh yeah, certainly. A lot of the early entrants in this space of data science, might have came from computer science programs or come from data information sciences, and never really got the chance to contemplate the sort of complexities of the phenomenon that they're working at. So I think in some part that's one of our intentionalities, that we can't just focus on the tools themselves. We can't just focus on the methods, and just making the most wham bam best visualizations and the prettiest maps and all that other stuff like that. Is that we really have to understand the depth to which civic technology and the depth to which these technologies drive decision making and influence people's lives. And that commitment to the public interest is the core. It's the civic of the analytic, civic analytics component. So we're really looking at what is the nature of civil society and civic technology, and how do we promote the public interest through its use.
Speaking of folks that might be looking to enter a program like this, from, I would imagine, a varying degree of different backgrounds, What sort of qualities do you all typically look for in a prospective candidate for this program?
I guess one of the things about the field of public affairs is that we're not, that in a lot of fields and disciplines, if you wanted to get a master's of chemistry, you'd have a bachelor's of chemistry. It would be like just the at a base level is that sort of prerequisite. The great thing about public affairs programs, to the most part, is that there's such a diverse manifestation of public service that there really isn't perfect majors. There are some traditional feeders like political science, undergrad public policy, economics, sociology, and stuff like that. But I've taught students who've had degrees in divinity and French literature and other stuff like that, particularly in our MPA program, because if you to get a degree in art performance, the best way to kind of make a career out of art performance after you perhaps stop performing is that you might run a nonprofit or a theater or some sort of organization. So teach people to run those things. So I not rambling on too much, but we don't have at the outset a set type. But that being said, the people who I've been interacting with so far since we've announced the program is that we tend to we find people who in public health, political science, economics, computer science, public policy, a bunch of people who've kind of been in this public realm a little bit or in the technical realm, and that are either looking to understand the appreciation, their computer science or information sciences, people who want to get that, have great preparation in coding and statistics and all that stuff, and really want to do the public affairs side, or you have public affairs people who want to really nerd out on their kind of technical side. But we have GPA requirements and stuff like that. But I think at a minimum, the type of things, qualities, we're looking for people who are inquisitive. We're looking for people who have a strong commitment to the public sector. We like people who are innovative, who are constantly looking for just put their neck out a little bit sometimes to create it's like I want to create something new. I see a way to solve a problem that hasn't been done before. So I'd say they're less traditional than you might find in other kind of public affairs disciplines. But I also say part of the degree requirement is that you have taken at least taken a class in statistics that covers inferential research methods, regression and maybe logistic regression, because if you're going to get a degree in applied statistics and data science, you should have at least some experience having taken a course to know that if that's something for you. We can train you on a lot of the elements that a lot of the elements of public sector data science, but we also find some people, if it's evidenced at all throughout the civic technology community, there's a tremendous amount of people who self-teach themselves particular technical skills or supplemental skills, whether it's taking, like they know R and they want to learn Python, or they know Python, they want to learn R, or they want to learn a particular coding language or something like that. So the type of people who, we can teach you a lot of stuff, but the network of programs and development environments and visualization tools and stuff like that is constantly evolving. So I think people who are innovators but who love to learn and are self-motivated are really the type of people that we're looking for.
For a listener out there that's keen on what they've heard so far and they're thinking about this, like, I think I might be interested in a program like this, what would be the best way for them to voice that interest and to engage with y'all?
I'm willing to schedule a call or Skype or respond to questions over emails and stuff like that, because I know this is kind of a different animal than things that have been proposed before, and there's not very many public sector data science programs, so there's going to be a lot of questions just by the nature of occupying this space. So I'd say reach out to me. My email address, swklein or swklein @uic.edu. That's one great way of getting in touch with me. I'm always happy to answer questions. Our website has details about the degree requirements, the curriculum, the admissions procedure, deadlines and whatnot. And I can also direct you to some of our administrative staff who can tell you about, opportunities for funding, graduate research and teaching assistantships. But also, I'd say one thing, I manage our department's Twitter account, and I think one thing that a lot of programs don't always, that do well exposing is like, what is the intellectual life at a university or a particular department like? And I've tried to do my best to show, who our faculty are, who our students are, the type of events that we hold and host. We've got our UIC Urban Forum that's coming up next Thursday. That is focusing on the rise of autonomous vehicles, how to regulate them, what sort of policy is needed. So, we have events, we have faculty research, we've got people traveling overseas at the moment and all the time, presenting at conferences and stuff like that. So I'd say, to look at us not only as a, this degree granting program, but look at the intellectual life of the department and look at kind of what we offer in terms of the whole experience, and the opportunities that we can provide you to study, but also to integrate, to become part of this kind of wider public affairs community.
Stephen, again, I want to thank you so much for coming on to Civic Tech Chat. As is tradition with this program, we leave a space at the end of the episode for the guest to tell us what sort of things we should be thinking about as we depart this episode. So for you and for this episode, what would that be?
I appreciate the opportunity to talk about this sort of program. I feel very, I'm very pleased to be kind of in this space, and that a program like this exists. For those of you out there who are looking for, you're looking for something that is different. You're looking for something that combines a lot of divergent kind of loves, be technology, public interest, social good, the kind of old adage about being the change you want to see in the world. I'd say, I'd ask you to check us out. We want to be on this edge of innovation. We want to be part of the civic technology, the broader civic technology community, and we're even kind of working with our, within the field to help establish, this idea of public sector data science is something that's a greater emphasis in our field and throughout society. So if you're interested in these programs, if you're interested in the type of advocacy and career paths, we really feel, from our research, that this is going to be a data literacy, data competency, the ubiquity of data technologies and information sciences is something that, change has been coming. It's accelerating. It's going to be a useful skill that is going to serve you well. And if you're really looking to be on the edge, the tip of the spear when it comes to public service and towards improving society, we think this is going to be, one of the most direct paths to being, in that kind of new reality. So please don't hesitate to reach out. We're really happy to answer your questions, and I'm really happy to talk with you. And I appreciate the opportunity of being able to talk with you and have your ear here today.
You can follow us on Twitter using the handle @CivicTechChat, visit us on the web at civictech.chat, or subscribe to us for content updates wherever it is you download your podcasts.